Okay. Reading from the Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta, Volume 1, Text 34. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Yasya śrī-bhagavat-prāptāv. Utkaṭecchā yato bhavet. Tatraiva labhetāmuṁ. Vāso lābha-kṛt. Whenever one develops an intense desire to achieve the Supreme Lord, there one could obtain him. But the Lord merely residing in a certain place does not grant one his association. Commentary. The personality of God does not give himself away to those whose desires are not absolutely pure. Only perfect love can induce him to reveal himself. If the Lord's presence in a place were sufficient cause for realizing him, then every living entity throughout the universe should already have attained him, since in his form as Sri Vasudev, the super soul, the Lord is all-pervading. Pure devotees are convinced that the Lord is permanently present in his eternal abode that have appeared on earth. That conviction, however, is born of the devotee's fervent eagerness to realize their personal relationship with the Lord. Without that strong desire, one will not have much faith in his presence. It is true that in Sri Vrindavan and some other abodes of the Supreme Lord, even devotees with immature faith are sometimes granted a vision of the Lord in his pastimes. But we should understand that this occurs only by the special potency of these places, which are exceptionally dear to the personality of Godhead. Nowadays, the Lord does not reveal himself as easily in every holy place where he appeared in the past. Okay. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Taksur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Sayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Sapadantikam Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasa De Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So greetings from Govardhan. I have an audience today. I feel I'm kind of in a slump. I feel I'm kind of in a slump that, I don't know, somehow these verses I was explaining before, I'm explaining to the audience here, kind of repetitive, just somehow or other, the same points come again and again. And then I keep on losing. Now I have the text again, but I keep on losing the text and purports and where I begin. It's just some trick of Govardhan. But actually, starting tomorrow, at least here, I should be teaching every day, because Braja Devi, who's a regular Sanga member, is here. Jamuna Pavani is here. And soon Hemalat Radha and Sham Kishore will be here. But I'll just put this in the simple context that Bṛhad is deflecting praise. This is just a common theme, that praise gives you power. or it can give you power, or it's tempting for power. And power gives you control. And the desire for control is to move the world according to your enjoyment for a sense of superiority. And that's the effect of the false ego. And pure devotees don't move in that direction. Intellectually, they don't move in that direction because that's not their goal, to control and enjoy. And emotionally, they don't move in that direction because they're in the mood of service. And the service doesn't move in the direction of power. It moves in the direction of the opposite, actually. Service. Service means that rather than controlling, you're relinquishing your agency to the will of another whom you want to please. So there's kind of these two directions. In the Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta, to be the center, to serve the center. And the Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta, which is a summary of the Bhagavatam, wants us to develop an attraction to serve the center. And it does that by presenting the beauty of God and the attraction of God. And even more than that, the beauty of being a servant of God. How beautiful it is, that consciousness of humility and love. Pride does not fit with love. Humility fits with love. Love is humility because you're putting yourself, in one sense, under another's desire. Another's desire becomes your agent. Like a mother, the child's desire becomes the agent for all movement. I want to eat now. I have to go to the bathroom. Please clean me now. So it's so natural, and we see in every devotee. And at least we should come to this intellectual platform of not moving towards praise. And it's so within us, just like we never like to admit that we're wrong because we lose power. So it's so within us to want it, because it's the material consciousness. It's why we've come to the material world. It's why we have gotten the body. The body is false ego. It's when we're still in the world with a desire and control, and God wants to give us a different experience to do so. At the end of our past life, he decides our next destination, and then covers the false ego, which is interesting, which delimits the consciousness of the particular body that we identify with to enjoy and control the world. So it's our modus operandi of the world. It's the desire we came here. And we have to somehow become attracted to service. And I just think of it, this whole world is just meant to crush that false ego, because we can't control here, and we're still trying, and we become upset when things don't go our way. Tamal Krishna Maharaj said, that, in the future, we always think things will get better, but they only get worse because we're losing control. What to speak of old age, what to speak of death. Death tattva. I got at least 2 inquiries this week of people who were having semi-panics about death. And in both cases, it was interesting. Their other problems in life were solved, which rarely happens. Economically, they had their jobs were okay. Their family situations were okay. Their health was good. So sometimes God does that. That's when God gives us everything as his mercy, because then the mind gravitates towards problems. And then that I don't think we see, I think there's two reasons why we don't see death. Well, because there's no enjoyment there's no material enjoyment, real material enjoyment with full consciousness, because it all ends. It weighs over your head. I even discuss, like the almost the first spiritual realization I had, and I was before 6. I'm a child prodigy. I remember exactly where I was. I was thinking, when I get older, I'll be this. And I looked at like maybe my older brother, and I'll be this. Then I had a cousin that was older, and I'll be this, and then I'll be this. And it went all the way to death, and I got scared. And I remember when I became a devotee, and I remember this, I was traveling in California, and I realized that I was eternal. Up until that time, I didn't have the realization that I was eternal. And I remember it was like lifting a big existential rock on my head. That, the end is non-existence. So I think we try to avoid that. And I give the example of like the last meal on death row. I don't know if they do in other countries, but in America, when they're going to execute you, you can have whatever meal you want. What will you do in that situation? Could you enjoy in that situation? Wow, give me a pizza. What would every bite feel like? What will every bite feel like, your last meal? Okay, this is a real hell, brimstone, and fire class, but our life is a last meal. And we don't want to see it. But sometimes, and therefore, and we can't even think of it because we're worried about our relationship. We're worried about our health. We're worried about, our job. We're worried about the world. We're worried about this. So there's two ways I think that God enlightens us. One, he satisfies all our desires. So, that we actually, the only thing we have to worry about is the real thing. But if we're not prepared, if we're not on the spiritual platform, by acting on the spiritual platform and identifying with the spiritual platform, then bhayam dvitiya, then duality and fear arises. Then duality and fear arises. Yeah, because everything we're attached to, we're going to lose, and it's a fearful condition. So anyway, I was connecting this, and it's just with this desire for praise and power. And, that spiritual person, he just wants to stay in the mood of service. And he realizes it's dangerous in the world and all the challenges. That's why it's dangerous to become a rock star. It's dangerous to become, a famous this or get a political position and to be a guru. It's because it's tempting. It's tempting. Power, any position, anytime you get power, it's so corrupting. Fame, praise is a difficult challenge. So Bṛhad is going to deflect that praise. And not only is he going to deflect that praise, he's going to deflect every argument. That's how determined he is not to be the enjoyer and controller. Every single argument of praise, because Narada is told by Lord Shiva, this is the topmost devotee, and Narada begins to glorify him. And he gives all the reasons why. So he seeks, it's interesting, he seeks to deflect each one. And the one he's deflecting here is that he's on the invitation of Vāmanadeva. He's visiting his grandson, Bali Maharaj. And Vāmanadeva is the doorkeeper or something on Bali planet. So he's going there and he gets the personal audience. So that's a nice glorification. But Prahlad says, merely residing does not grant association. And that's there with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and his brother-in-law, Gopinath Acharya. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya becomes a devotee, introduces Lord Chaitanya. Gopinath Acharya is a devotee, introduces his brother to Lord Chaitanya. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is an impersonalist. And he says, even though God is standing before you, you cannot recognize it because you think of yourself as a separate and independent God. Because you think of yourself as a separate and independent God. So, and this is also, I mean, this has come up a lot too, that our separation from God is consciousness. It's not physical distance. That's the message that Krishna gave to the gopis. I'm here in my bhava manifestation. I'm here in your love for me. Because God is not restricted by distance or time. So he doesn't have obstacles to be close to us. It's not even a dimension of time because God is not under time and space. So it's all consciousness. And by consciousness, we're with God. And he says, when one develops an intense desire to achieve the Supreme Lord, there, one can attain him. And this is also for us. When we want God, we have God. And because we don't want God, we don't have God. So he kind of deflects this. Okay, let's see. Okay, I kind of feel a little bit better. I felt a little bit more on the level of unconscious competence, maybe by the mercy of my audience. But it's great. Tapo Divyam, I'm performing some austerity. I'm going around every day. The man who hates country walks is taking a 2.5 hour stroll every morning. And it's good for me. And I'm moving fast. We do a half in little over 2 hours, 2 hours and 15 minutes, maybe. We're moving fast. An interesting thing is, I'm just going with a friend, like a student friend. I'm like maybe a teacher friend. It's a kind of relationship. He considers me as like almost his Siksha guru. I consider him like my friend. Sundar Govinda. Wonderful, cultured Vaishnava. So it was just me and him, but I'm looking around and everyone's following, and then it gets around. I think there's a term. The Russians are everywhere. The Russians are everywhere, and I kind of look around, and it's like, I think it was it what kind of film there was? I forgot. Forrest Gump or something. He was going someplace. People. It's like I'm looking back, and it's not my idea because my idea is to do, kind of my own bhajan. Look back, people are following. And he was telling people not to come. They still come. You can't tell him, no, Raj wants to be alone. He wants to do. And I just, it's just Krishna's will, nice people. So I don't even get bothered. I don't say anything. I just chant and I walk fast. And I have that Govardhan ego. If someone's in front of me, I run past them. You got to keep on moving. One side Radha-kund, one side Govardhan. And now, the people are coming. So it's great to be with different. We had a nice Jai Jagannath's Dandavati group came. That's what I love. They came to my courtyard. My courtyard's beautiful for these programs. It's like ideally set. He brought about a third of his people, and we served some nice prasadam. And yeah, it's so funny. This is when I do my Kartik Vrata, but this is the month I have the most service. I was invited to speak to one of the Russian groups. It was like 150 people. And they told me to speak on Putana. And I said, boy, I told them, I began my lecture by telling them, I'm expert at branding. I said, you know what branding is? It's giving a name to something that represents it, that makes you attracted to buy it. So I'm going to make you attracted. I'm going to sell you my class if you want to stay here and listen. And the title of my class was, they told me to speak on Putana, Prabhupada, Putana, and Govardhan. And people are like, wow, we got to hear about this. Now I got to tell you what I did. What I did is I just spoke on the Putana Leela, but towards the end, there's one very interesting commentary. You'll see how I put this together. There's a really interesting commentary where when Krishna is sucking out the life air from Putana, then Putana, who's actually a witch, but she's in the guise of a beautiful woman, which is representative of the opposite sex alluring you to Maya by attractive features. So she was let in. She was let into Krishna because so attractive. So Maya always has, to get it, Maya always has a facade. But then what happened is that when Krishna was sucking out her life, she dropped the facade and her real form manifested. So the commentary is at death, the psychological tendency is to let go of your guard. And a lot of times, people may express regret, or they may seek, things like that. So that's the psychological tendency. And I compared that to Prabhupada, who had to hide his spiritual identity. He had to cover his spiritual identity because an immature movement of Vaishnavas very well could be Sahajiyas if Prabhupada said, I am this cowherd boy, I am this Manjari, these are my so Prabhupada didn't reveal that. But at the very end, I kind of felt Prabhupada let that go a little bit. And he said something that he really never did. He expressed an intense spiritual desire. I want to go to Govardhan. At the end of his life, I want to go to Govardhan. A very specific spiritual desire, which he never really indicated to that specificity. I want to go to Govardhan, which is where his guru and Bhakti Siddhanta, Kamala Manjari, Nayana Manjari, and Bhakti Siddhanta, and Bhakti Vinod Kamala Manjari, where they reside eternally in Govardhan at Radhakund in Sukata Swananda Kunj. So that desire of Prabhupada, it wasn't, he never really, I thought that was something. And I spoke about that more, but that was my Prabhupada, Putana, and Govardhan. Interesting?
Yeah.
Very, right? Special. Of course, he couldn't go because he was too sick. Amazing. Just think, Prabhupada, I want to go to Govardhan. It's a real deep internal spiritual desire. He may have, expressed desire for chanting the holy name and attraction for, Radha Krishna chant, but that specificity that's really connected with Raganuga Bhakti never came out, I felt like that. So that was kind of interesting. So the Lord, you get the Lord's association when the Lord gives it to you. You can't move towards it. And that's the way it is with any person. You can be in a person's presence, but unless you love them, you'll never really see them. Their inner self, the real self is our love. I am a mother. I am a lover. I am a friend. That will never come out and never give unless you have desire to serve someone. And then the point here is, if presence was enough, then everyone should see God. Because where is God? And I always quote, I think it's the German philosopher Hegel, where there's no circumference, the center is everywhere. So where is God? Where is it? If you're looking at a physical distance, he is everywhere. And he appears, as the story of Bṛhad tells, he appears when there's consciousness. So he appeared for Bṛhad because Bṛhad wanted to see him. So now we will just read some more verses. If my Lord was always present here in person, why would I have traveled all the way to Naimisaranya to see him as Lord Pitavas, the yellow garbed form of Naranarayan? So he went to see Naranarayan at Naimisaranya. So why? If he's present only here. So you go, and different places give you different inspirations to invoke the Lord's presence. So somehow or other, he wanted to have that inspiration in Naimisharanya, where Naranarayan rishis are. Where is God? He's everywhere. Maya tatam midam sarvam jagat avyaktam murti. Why am I in person? I'm everywhere, but I'm not in them also. I do not have the defect of impersonality. I appear personally, but where does he appear personally? Not just in one place, in any place, according to our desire. We can say that by your mercy, the Supreme Lord developed some love for me, and so I appear glorious, but my greatness is just like a tiny speck before the heaps of mercy the Lord bestows on his newer devotees. Commentary: out of humility and respect for his guru, Narada, Bṛhad now realized he should not have contradicted Narada's statements. So he's contradicting his statements that he's so that he's such an exalted devotee. So he's saying, out of respect, now he's saying, yeah, the Lord has developed some love for me, but it's nothing compared to other devotees. So in that way, he can not contradict his guru, but at the same time say something out of humility. Therefore, he now approaches the question from another angle. Another angle, acknowledging Narada's words, but reinterpreting them. Newer devotees like Hanuman, Prahlad says, were favored by the Supreme Lord much more. After a person has seen the great ocean, the sight of a small lake will no longer impress him. So he says it's relative. Okay, I do have mercy, etc., but it's relative. So that's interesting too. That's just Guru Tattva. There's such reverence and respect. Sri Guru Charanapa, Guru Mukha Padma Vaka Chite Te Koriya Aika. The words emanating from his lotus mouth are the perfection that fulfills all desires. There's so much respect for that authority. Someone was gave me a book where they presented this theory of proportional surrender to Guru. And I told him what a concoction that was. It's not our philosophy. It's not our, it's if you relativize the authority, then you're limited to your own frame of reference. Okay, I see I'm looking here, there's some more people that came again. That's nice. Oh, Narada, your heart overflows with causeless compassion. Why should I go on describing all my misfortunes, which simply make you unhappy? Instead, please consider the Lord's mercy on Hanuman of the Kim Purushas. So it's just the devotee is considerate. I always think of Lord Chaitanya, who wouldn't express his anxieties and moods of separation in public. Because when you love someone, you feel what they feel. He's very considerate. I like this point that Vaishnavas are considerate. So he's looking for his guru. And he says that you're very compassionate. And compassion means vairagya yug bhakti risam priyatnai apayam mam anabipsamandam kripam buddhiya paraduka duki sanatanistam prapum asrayami. It says vairagya yug bhakti. Raghunath Das Goswami is praying to Sanatana Goswami, vairagya yug bhakti. Bhakti enriched with renunciation from this world. Vairagya bhakti visampriyatnai apayamama kripamburiya paraduka duki. And therefore, you gave it to me even if I didn't want it. You gave me bhakti enriched renunciation with the world, even I didn't want it. Therefore, you are kripamburiya. You are the ocean of compassion, paraduka duki. And you suffer for the suffering. You have no suffering, but you suffer for the suffering of others. You suffer for the suffering of others. So, commentary, since Narada is naturally compassionate to all suffering souls, Prahlad thinks Narada has been speaking just to encourage him with words of exaggerated praise. And so Prahlad thinks that to continue describing his own misfortune will distress Narada, his spiritual master, thus resulting in guru aparad. Narada cannot tolerate unhappiness in any way, especially his own disciple. It's hard being in this world. People are just suffering so much. I just have to say, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, the only advice you can give, I was just thinking horrible things in Israel, Palestine, Ukraine, Russia. What's to speak, what's happening in America economically. This temporary material world is full of suffering. Take shelter of the holy name of Krishna as your only business. And even if there wasn't wars, there's still death, there's still disease, there's still, and you could see it. You can see, even without all these things, how the world is going to hell with all their conceptions and uprooting just the foundation, the basic foundations of civilization and order. There is a logos, there is an order, there is an absolute truth. And there are forces that are trying to destroy any standards of truth. And the world is so difficult. But take shelter, the holy name is your only business. I was with Havi Prabhu today, my godbrother, such a sweet man. And, he was a famous musician, very famous. As famous as Bob Dylan was in America, that's how famous he was in Venezuela. That's how big he was, 2 Grammy Awards. And other places. I remember I was upstate New York and at the Bhakti Immersion, and there were 2 Venezuelans that were doing, volunteering service. And from Venezuela, and I mentioned I knew Elon Chester. The guy started banging his chest. He just, the songs. So he was in Venezuela, and he got a call to see the president. He got a call to see the president. So they sent for him with guards, and he went to see the president. And it was Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta, which is the most auspicious day to distribute Bhagavatam. He said, okay, I'll bring a set of Bhagavatams. So on Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta, he met the president and gave him Bhagavatams, gave him the Bhagavatam, and then had to read it out loud. And then he was invited back to do a concert for the birthday of the president's wife. So, but he was telling me, he knows, what communism does to a country.
Yes.
Wait, you can't leave the middle.
Give the key.
What?
The key.
Who?
I'll give the key to allow to the
Okay. So he knows, because he can see in that country what it's done. But he said also he sees, when there's that kind of suffering generation after generation, people bond together. And he said just like Russia, people became so receptive to Krishna consciousness. So he said things like that may also be the Lord's plan. But without getting distracted there, I lost my track. Anyway, so Prahlad thinks that to continue, Narada cannot tolerate unhappiness in anyone. Okay, paradukkha dukhi. Since Narada is intent on finding the true recipient of the Supreme Lord's mercy, Prahlad tries to divert Narada's attention by proposing Hanuman as an alternative. He tells Narada, Pasha, don't just accept my word on this. Please go witness the glories for yourself. So he diverts it, but in diverting it, it's also intellectually honest, because Prahlad's main service is meditating on the Lord. But Hanuman is known for his intimate service. So it is a more intimate progression. And if you're looking for the topmost recipient of Krishna's mercy, it's the one who has the most intimate love, which ultimately goes to the gopis. Please note, my Lord, that the Supreme Personality of Godhead appeared suddenly in his form of Nrsimhadev just to kill my father, and as soon as he fulfilled his purpose, he went disappeared. So he's still deflecting it. He's saying, okay, I saw God, but he left immediately. So don't give me credit for that. And he's saying that because Hanuman was always by the side of Ramachandra for 10,000 years. He was always by the side. I haven't been able to see my Lord directly whenever I wanted. So when I saw him once on the shore of the ocean, it was just like a dream. A dream just comes and goes. So he's still deflecting praise. Commentary, Prahlad claims that since the time he saw Lord Nrsimhadev, when the Lord appeared from a pillar to kill Hiranyakashipu, Prahlad has not had much opportunity to see him again, what to speak of serve him and develop a personal relationship. How different that is from Hanuman. When Nrsimhadev first appeared, Prahlad's spontaneous devotion was hampered by the novelty and shock of the moment and by his own fear and reverence. The dramatic settings in the palace on the shore of the ocean and the presence of many demigods and sages made it difficult for Prahlad to freely express his love. This is described in some detail in Hari Bhakta Shuddhadaya. So it was all om purnamidam purnamidam. It wasn't the mood where he can be that intimate. But Hanuman is much more fortunate. For many thousands of years, he has enjoyed serving the Lord constantly without obstruction. So look at the difference. Commentary, according to Sri Ramayana, Hanuman stayed with the Lord Ramachandra on this earth for more than 11,000 years. Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta, however, says he served the Lord directly for more than 13,000 years. In the 9th canto, the Bhagavatam states, after Mother Sita entered the earth, Lord Ramachandra observed complete celibacy and performed an uninterrupted Agnihotra for 13,000 years. Without transgressing the religious principles, Lord Ramachandra, whose lotus feet are worshipped by devotees in meditation, enjoyed with all the paraphernalia of transcendental pleasure for as long as needed. Hanuman remained at this all the time. So I feel like today I broke out of my slump a little bit. I felt more like myself. It's like flowing on, because I had the purports and I couldn't find them last time. So I hope I've solved this problem. And then it'll go on describing him and how joyous that is for Prahlad, glorifying the devotee. It's so part of devotion. Okay, let me get back here. Okay, I think at the beginning, we had a little bit of a problem with getting online with the thing at the beginning. Rati sent a note, excuse me, but now, so we have basically our numbers. Jamuna Jaya, if you kind of share something from the class. Can't hear you. I can't hear you. I don't know if others can hear you. Maybe they can't hear me.
We can hear you, Maharaj. We can't hear Jamila Jaya.
Okay, because usually it's my fault, so I'm happy.
Things.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe it's me today. You can't hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay, I was my earbuds. So I was saying, I
It's
love
broken up.
this point about
It's not clear.
you often speak about how God is not in proximity. And I love that one. Wait,
It's
hold
not
on.
clear.
How
You
now?
don't have.
Is that better? Clear? No, clear.
No.
Oh, sorry. I
Okay.
guess my internet's okay.
Okay.
So you're first.
Okay. Anybody else? Gail, something?
Yeah, Maharaj, can you hear me properly?
I can hear you properly. I just can't see you. You're always hidden. I want them to come out. We don't want to have to kill you for it. But anyway, go ahead.
Okay. I'm going to give a little darshan today. Hold on. Here I am. Okay, so a couple questions, Maharaj. I don't get the connection between praise and power. How does getting praise give you power?
Because people are appreciating your abilities, and fame is one of the attributes. There's 6 powers, right? Isn't that enable you to control, and one of them is fame, and praise has to do with increasing your notoriety, so to speak.
So if you have fame, that gives you power. I mean,
yeah, it does.
Yeah, that's a little easier for me to digest. Okay. Maharaj, the other question is, what is it? How is it that you, when you were traveling in California, how is it that you came to understand that you're eternal?
Because I had come to Krishna consciousness. And then at a particular time, I was just reflecting on it. I met the devotees in California. I was reflecting on it. And I realized I'd become convinced that I was eternal. And what that meant is that, and I just look back at my previous life, and I never want to forget it, what it's like to think that the end of life is the end of existence. It just gives no purpose and meaning to your whole existence. And I visualized that as just like a burden on my consciousness. And it was just so liberating to understand that. I don't want to forget some of the experiences that really, inspired my faith.
Like?
The first time I ate prasadam in the Vatsika temple, and it was just like, this was like beyond anything I've ever experienced before. And I remember going to the Brooklyn temple, and when those kirtans went with the thing, it was just beyond anything sensuous, beyond anything egotistical. It was just like a new realm of happiness that became my goal. And then the times in life where it gets renewed. I remember I was at Gita Nagari, and I was at a Vrindavan for the first time in 20 years during Kartik. So what do? I said, well, what will I do? Well, I'll go to Gita Nagari, because the presiding deities are Radha Damodar, the deities of the deities of Kartik. And what will I do? Well, I'll do a Kartik Vrata. And I started chanting 64 rounds every day, and I would just eat rice and dal once a day for the whole month. And every day I would teach nectar or devotion class, and it was vibrant. The community was so vibrant. Then every day there was Damodarastika morning and evening, and every day after lunch I would go on Prikram to a holy place in Gitanagari, Govardhan Hill or whatever it is. I'd make it and I'd tell it. And wow, the benefit you get. Or this Purushottama Mas, doing the Purushottama vow and chanting, and it was just wonderful. So the experiences that renew your faith. Faith is trust by experience.
Yeah, I love that line.
Yeah. Or when we were in Kali together. And my shock, not knowing that you ever rode in a plane before.
Yeah, I am a world traveler, by the way, Maharaj. I just don't.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Okay. All right. Anybody else like to say hello today?
Hare Krishna, Gumaraj, Tota Gopinath here. So great to see you.
Okay. Well, looking forward to seeing you in just 2-3 months.
Counting the days. I can't wait to do that walk with you.
Well, yeah. I think you can do it twice a day.
Be happy to.
I think you can do the whole thing every day. You can go after lunch the other side.
You got it.
Okay. Anyone else?
Hare Krishna, Gumaraj. It's Lal Govinda. Thank you for class.
Haribo.
Haribo.
Roger come back yet?
No, she's still in Vrindavan right now.
Just leaves you there, just strand. But you're coming now, and that's great to hear.
Yeah, I'm very grateful.
And that's great to hear.
Yeah.
And you got time to spend some time with your main man Raghunath.
I hope so. I told him he should come to the retreat. So we'll see.
Comes to the retreat, I'll have him talk.
Okay, I'll let him know.
He's a good pundit. He came to my room the day before I spoke on Putana to the Russians, and I asked about Putana, and he was just like, just one thing after another. He's a pundit.
Yeah,
and he
great.
took the temple in the new Gurukul the other day. It's nicer than the Krishna Mandir. It's unbelievable. It's red sandstone and the deities, and
it's beautiful.
Yeah. Okay. All right, Lal. We'll be looking forward to seeing you. Okay.
Thank you, Raj. Very well.
Anybody else?
Hare Krishna, Gurudev.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. This is Krishna-katha. Thank you so much for the class. I was late, but I heard a very important part of your talk. Thank you.
Thank you. Nice to see you. Hare Krishna. Haribo. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. Thank you for class.
Haribo. Great. We'll see you also.
Yeah, I hope so.
Okay. Haribo. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna, Maharaj. Vatsundari and Arizu.
I see. Vatsundari. What a unique name, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, Maharaj. Yeah, you chose it. That's lovely. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else?
Thank you very much. Haribol.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. Surya Radhika here. Thanks for the class.
Haribo.
Hare Krishna.
Okay. Nice to see you.
Thank you, Maharaj.
I got your letter. Hope everything works out.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna, Gurudev.
Jai Shri Radhe. Haribo.
I was trying to keep the camera on and talk, but you can't hear me, so that's the only way. Sorry.
Right. Okay. Haribo. Okay.
Hare
Anybody
Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna. This
Hare
is Samala.
Krishna. My
Thank
prayers for you people. Haribol.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Haribol. Israel. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Hemalata Radha.
Yes, Maharaj.
Wow.
Hare Krishna.
I can't wait for Shamki Shore to come here so I have a cook.
Soon, Maharaj.
Yeah. Yeah, so I have a cook, at least some days. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, Haribol.
Thank you so much for class.
Thank you. Hey, you guys went to Radhakund today. I was at Radhakund, but probably you were way behind us. I was at Radhakund at 6:30, and you be.
Yes, today we started late because yesterday we did like a double session, 2 kilometers in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, and so it was brutal. So this morning we started a little earlier, later.
Okay. Okay, Radhakund, you got 2 more sessions. The last day, I will be near where you're finishing by about...
Wonderful.
Maybe by about 7 o'clock, but you guys start at 6:30. What time you start?
We're starting, yeah, we unite in the place where we start at 6. We sing some prayers and then we start. So normally we start at 6:20.
Okay, well, there's a chance. Okay, anybody else?
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. This is Krishna Mayi. Thank you so much for class.
Wow, Krishna Mayi. Great. Nice to hear you.
Haribol.
Thank you. Okay. Krishna Mayi was initiated on the western side of Govardhan, north of Jatipur, with Bob Healy, Bhakti Vinod Das, and that's Kristen. Is Krishna Mayi. We had such an incredible not ceremony, it's just by the side of Govardhan. It was just beautiful. Really memorable. Okay. Anybody else? Blessed, yes.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, it's Champak.
Champak, is that your new apartment?
Yeah.
Are you happy in your new apartment?
Very happy to just not be moving around so much in temporary situations. Yeah,
okay, now
very peaceful.
You're now going to decorate it and set it up and make your pottery section, right?
Yeah, super excited.
I can tell from your message to me that you were in such incredible separation from Govardhan and India, and that experience, when you live in the spiritual world, you just don't want to leave it. And the fact with all those new people, and that you were, got a chance to actually share and preach and explain to people. So you were really having a lot of service in the Dham too. And so I can feel your voice. I practically barely can hear your voice. You were in so much separation.
Yeah, all these things feel so silly to be doing things here. So silly comparing to what we were doing in the Dham.
I can tell you went on that tour and you were fully engaged. And what'd you do the last day when you left Govardhan and went to Vrindavan?
We just had like a closing ceremony with everyone, sharing realizations and just closing out the retreat.
Did you move there again to stay?
Yeah, we had to stay in Vrindavan again.
You always stayed in Vrindavan, right? They always just came, but you guys went back to...
Yeah, I spent a couple of days in Govardhan just to be around you.
I know, and that was great too, right? That you were my assistant at the initiation.
Yeah, so lucky. Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Such a beautiful samskara. That initiation was really magical.
It was magical. It was.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, I'm going to head out now. Unless someone wants to quickly say hello within 2 seconds, I'm going to be out of here. Okay, Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bheva Cha Pati